Before the next show starts, let's enjoy an intermission. You'll find our snack bar chock full of good things to eat and drink. Tasty, tempting hot dogs, thirst-quenching soft drinks, fresh, crunchy popcorn, a complete assortment of delicious candy, and a full line of cigarettes. You've plenty of time, so visit the snack bar now. A tasty treat will double your enjoyment of the show. For your convenience, we shall keep you informed of the remaining intermission time, 3 minutes before the next show starts.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
The next show will start in 2 minutes.
Yes, Toddy, the chocolate malt in a can.
It's so good hot. It's so good cold.
It hits the spot with young and old.
Yes, toddy pleases everybody. Delicious chocolate malted toddy, made with rich, real milk, not powdered milk.
So come and get it, everybody. It's time to drink your chocolate toddy.
Peter Pan said, here we go. We're on our way. Hi, everybody. It's me. I missed you last week. We both did, actually. We had a little technical problem, but we have cleared that up. And, folks, I am way too excited. I'm in front of the Diamond Horseshoe. You can see that right here behind me. And why am I there? Well, because the guy I'm about to introduce has quite the history with that place and quite the history with magic and entertainment in general. And I am not only thrilled, but honored and privileged to have this guy on the show. And even more so, to be able to call this guy a friend. How cool is that? Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here he is, all the way from his luxurious penthouse in Orlando, Florida, the one only Mr. Bev Bergeron. There he is. Hey, Bev, can you hear us? Well, we got him. Somebody got to turn his microphone on. That would help a lot. There we go. Bev, can you hear us, buddy? Uh-oh.
I can hear you fine.
There you are. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there he is. Bev, I can hear you. Yes, sir. You're freezing up a little bit, but I'm not worried about it. As long as I can hear you and we can hear you, we're going to be happy. How are you, sir? How's the pandemic treating you?
Well, like everybody else, we're bored to death. And we used to go, eating out quite a bit, breakfast out in the morning, and now it's 99% of everything we cook right here. And my daughter goes to the grocery store for us, and it's like everybody else. Some of my friends are really locked up, but
exactly.
I'm lucky. We're lucky. We're in good shape. Are you talking or am I?
No, you could. I'm going to shut up. unless I'm not talking. I'm being quiet. I want to let you talk, but I'm going
okay.
to let me do this. Let me say this. Bev, if you anybody who's tuning in who doesn't know who Bev is, first off, I'm rather stunned if you don't know who Bev is. Bev has been. I'm just going to put a little thing behind me here to give you an idea of where this fella's been. And of course, now there he is up there in the corner, Rebo the Clown with Mark Wilson on the Magic Land of AllaKazam, and that's a little thing from that. Bev has done some amazing stuff. Started out there in California, and actually you started your life in Texas, didn't you, Bev? Go ahead. I'm letting you talk.
In Texas. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Baytown, Texas.
When did you, what age were you when you moved?
I was born in a hospital.
How old were you when you moved out of Texas?
I started, my father was in Memphis. Say that again?
No, I was asking how old were you when I moved out of Texas? Yeah.
I was born in Texas, Baytown. My family came in from the Bayou, Louisiana, outside of New Orleans, Bayou Black, outside of Houma. Terrible, terrible. That's the way they talk there. They talk kind of funny, you know. And then they moved over into Texas, and the oil boom started in 1920, and the Humboldt Oil Refining Company, which is standard in New Jersey. They now Exxon had the world's largest refinery when I was born, and when I got out to California, these girls in the bars used to come up and say, "What sign were you born under?" I said, "Humboldt Oil Refining," because it's the truth. They had a little three-room hospital row, a big sign that said Humboldt Oil Refining Company. You want more to tell you how I got started? My father,
that's great.
He was Jolson. He had a very good voice, by the way. Excellent voice. Better than Jolson. And so he sang at all the local shows. They had, shows off the refinery would sponsor shows and in the schools and all that, and he'd sing in all of them. So I was influenced with that. I'm a lousy singer. I could carry maybe a musical, for a South Pacific, like this, nothing like a theme, nothing in the world. I could do that type of stuff. I was real singing in no way. So at 10, when I was 10 years old, my father was volunteer fire chief of the little town, and they sponsored carnivals and shows and things like that to raise money to buy the fire trucks, get operation going. They brought in Willard the Wizard for 2 weeks. It was this big show, and very big under canvas, at 500 to 1,000 seats, and under canvas, and so it was there for 2 weeks, and every other week, every other day, changed the show. So I got to see the show every night, sitting on the front row, and I became fascinated. Later, when I was like 17, 18 years old, I got to work with him. I took off for summer, and my family was letting me do that, joined the show under canvas, about 100 miles west of Houston, and helped watch the show come into my hometown, help bring it in 3 weeks later, and it stayed around that area for about 5 weeks. So I really learned. Watching the old time magic. I wrote a about it, by the way. Just happen to have a copy of it. Let me see, how do you do this? Oh, there we go. Word Wizard. And,
by all means, show that book. Yes, sir.
Seller. Yeah, the Smithsonian. Yeah, took the asked permission about 83 to use my book because there was no record of how these shows operated, how they were set up and all. And I have the drawings and all that, the layout of the tent and sidewalls and everything. I gave them permission, and it was a tribute to the American Tent Theater, which up is about 500 of these shows country. Most of them were they call them repertoire theater, and I got to see some of those when I was a kid. They'd come into town, and they had a little band would play, and the even members of the band would get up and play characters, and they had the comics with the hair would piece and you flop up in the air. So I got to see those things and meet some of those people when I was 12, 14 years old, 10, 14, right through there. That was a big influence on me. By the way, a lot of people say, "Oh, you Skelton had a big help on you." I worked with Skelton that way later in life in the 60s with the show, and I got to meet the man, spent a lot of time in the dressing room with him. But he wasn't really the one. Here's one for you. If you're not old enough but Jerry Lester, Broadway Open House, 1949, early television. Had Dagmar on with big hands. And they did all the stick. I mean, from all the 19, which was later on, England, the comic that everybody in this country crazy for. I'll think of it in a second. He was late in television here, but they were doing all those things from the 1920s and 30s, the burlesque skits on television. Jerry Lister was the comic, and God, I really I was a freshman at the University of Texas then, and we set up a television set, and these guys were engineers and all, and it must have been 200 or 300 feet up in the air to pick San Antonio because we had no station in Austin. And I'd watch them at 11 o'clock at night. Oh God, what a lesson! And
now, Bev, this is wild because it puts me in mind of when you and I both worked over at SeaWorld, and we would talk like this for all of our breaks. Fascinating stuff. I wanted to, early now we've got some early stuff, some other early stuff in the career that some of us might have been around to remember. And most of it, well, I wasn't, but I am I'm a huge fan of yours. And I wanted to ask you, and I was requested to ask you by someone. I was requested to ask about Ronald McDonald, to find out more about the early days of Ronald McDonald. You were one of the first ones, were you not, out in California?
I changed a lot of things in him. The costume was designed. An artist put it out, and what's his name? Willard Scott, when he was in a local announcer, I think it was in Baltimore, Maryland, the local McDonald's there, got him to be a clown, but it was awful makeup and awful wardrobe and all. And they went down to Florida and got some of the old circus people to draw up Ronald. And then I ended up out interviewing people, and this is wrong, this is wrong. I changed the face a little bit, and they got me a trailer made, and I went on top, climb up. No rim around it or anything. It's kind of frightening in a way. But I was amazed. We would draw up to 5,000 people as kids at these dealer franchises. They, of course, the three guys that started McDonald's there, and eventually they broke away from the franchise. But this was '66, and I stayed with them until '68. And like I mentioned before, I had like 4 different bosses. I flew into Chicago and talked to the national agency and franchise people, and I said, I'd like to take Ronald and put him on television, and et cetera, et cetera. And so one of these men in the room said, Mr. Bergeron, we're selling hamburgers, not clown. And they didn't have copyright or anything at that time. I said, Ronald is a hamburger, you better protect him. It wasn't until a few years later they had to change the makeup a little bit later and change them and copyright it. And they started doing it right. They brought in 2 or 3 other people that they let handle it and out of the hands of politicians, of advertising people. We had the same trouble with Kellogg's at CBS. They would send us scripts, and I had a degree by this time. I'm from University of Texas, and did pretty well. And I got finished, believe it or not, on the honor roll. First 2 years I like to flunk out, but the last 2 years I aced, and so I was pretty good. I went to work for an ad agency for 6 months, and I started my own agency and picked up Mark Wilson, handled his accounts, and got one with I picked up Hickory Farms of Ohio out of Toledo, that to the West Coast, all their advertising. So I was doing well in the late 50s. So I had experience with that type of work, and now, but this I don't know where I'm going with this, but
it's all right. It's okay. It's okay. But now let me say this.
But with Ronald,
excuse me, another clown. Well, I mean, another clown, a very famous clown, predated Ronald. Am I correct? Namely, that would be Rebo.
Rebo. Yeah, that was mine, and created him in '57 with the World's Fair, Texas State Fair. There was no videotape or anything, only kinescopes, lousy, and that's a film taken off of a television tube, and that's the only things that they had back in those days. Like the network shows, a lot of them did 2 shows, one for the West, one for the East Coast, and so Mark moved out of Dallas. He had a local show in Dallas. Said he wanted to come into Houston, and a friend of mine, Walter Blaney, recommended to Mark to contact me that the guy could handle that for him, and we'd set up local supermarkets in their parking lot. We'd bring in 1,000 kids, and Mark would perform in sponsorship like Dr. Pepper, Fritos. That's when they weren't separate. I mean, they didn't have Pepsi Cola those days.
Now, Bev, if you look there, you're going to see. Hang on one second. You're going to see that PJ Campagna asks a question that I was going to ask, and I'm so glad. This is PJ Campagna from Houston saying hi.
Oh.
And PJ would like to know, when and how did you meet that most incredible woman that you are married to, Aloise? When and how did you meet Aloise?
Oh, That was from a adult group in Santa Monica at a Catholic. I got bored with the Hollywood area. I lived down in Santa Monica, such a great city in the 60s. Now I would imagine also in the 50s. I didn't live there in the 50s, but in the 60s, I had a house trailer I bought, bolted on a beautiful little lot right in the middle of Santa Monica. Nice, great a playhouse and I could have anytime I wanted to throw parties there, swimming pool, et cetera, et cetera. And so I throw parties and invited all these kids, these adult kids from the Catholic church there, and met Eloise. I didn't tell her what I did. I didn't tell anybody. Kept it a secret. When I go to these things, I'd say I'm a salesman or something like that. So one Saturday morning when this show was on the air, I called her and I said, you have a television handy? She says, yeah, turn it on to the CBS. She turned it on. She said, is that you? And I said, yeah. And we got married and started having kids, and she put up with my foolishness with all the, I mean, I traveled a lot. And he very rarely went with me. Mark would had one of the strongest agents, E.O. Stacy, excuse me, who booked us in fairs. Now, if you want to know what kind of money we were making back then, we were making it from $1,500 to $3,000 a day. Now multiply that by 10. That's like maybe 30,000 a day. That's the kind of money was coming in from fairs. Now we were losing buying equipment and trying to get a first-class show there. We want to keep that going. But we made it on personal appearances. And that's a different world. I mean, we really knew how to ace those fairs. The fairs liked us. The very first one we pulled in, we're unloaded. Here comes the manager of the fair, and he says, "What are you doing?" I said, "We're getting ready to do a show." And he said, "Oh," he said, "Well, most of the people that come in here from Hollywood, they just sign autographs and sell pictures." I said, "No, we're going to do a show." It was amazing. And we really more or less pioneered some of the early days with the shows like that. And a lot of Hollywood people couldn't make it. Lucille Ball was one of, she's a genius. I worked with Lucille Ball several times. And God, the woman knew what she hated fairs. And I don't much blame her. It's hot, windy, and helicopters overhead, the race cars racing around, and it's a different world. And you had to work the crowds with far away. Mark knew how to do that. That's one thing that Mark Wilson was good at. He and Nani were so unbelievable. They do that trunk escape with the canvas cover, which very few musicians use, and even it's done. That's one of those things that's been kept a secret for years. They're the masters with it, and I mean, it is hot on those fairs in the afternoon. We do an afternoon show and a nighttime show, and they would finish the show with that in the Mars covered box. And when we did it on television, we had to do everything within it. That's the length of time for Lucy before they went to a commercial. So he was taking about 10 minutes, 12 minutes doing the thing. Yeah, we had to cut it down. So we had to work it out and started pulling the ropes out and stuff on doing it. He took a pair of scissors and just cut the ropes, and not a lot of the gags that he'd do with the men before Nani got into the box, and it had to be cut. All of that stuff had to be done. And remember, we were black and white those days. So you had to be careful with the reds and the blues and stuff. They were the same grayscale. And that's all the stuff we had to learn. You had to learn how to hold an item in front of a camera to keep the flare down. At the beginning, my clown makeup as Rebo, I didn't use grease paint with powder. I used pancake, and I didn't try to powder down. It was almost flesh colored, because standing next to Mark was like a number 7 pancake, on his body, on his face, and me standing next to him with the white. God, it jumped. So we had to spray down the.
Would be rather dramatic,
down.
I'm sure.
But
yeah. Listen, there's a lot of people that have questions. I want to get to Albert's question here. I want to get to Albert's question here. Can you see that question there? What was your favorite character? Comes from Albert.
It's too small.
Huh?
I can't read it. It's too small.
Okay. I will read it to you. Albert Muller wants to know, what was your favorite character? I'm hoping
my favorite character.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I like my little drunk act. I started when I was like 15 with cigarettes, and that was a popular thing when I was a kid. I did a pantomime, and I probably worked more shows. I did shows when Disney would book me to a convention, and sometimes that'd be 2 or 3 times a week. And one of the Disney hotels, I would do that act. And it's comical up until I left Disney, and even after I left Disney, I was still booked. They booked me in. I remember, about 88, I get a call, and one was over in the Swan Hotel. It was an old Japanese, and by that time I did Japan a few times, so I could do my act, and I could do 10 words of Japanese. I can't talk to them, but I could ask their name and do the spot card and stuff like that, and I'd do the drunk. And and I said, well, I don't do the cigarette anymore. He said, no, we want you to do the cigarette. The Japanese want this. So when I got there, my God, everyone was smoking. Smoke in that room was unbelievable. I don't smoke. Never did. Too cheap to. My sister said I was too tight. But I couldn't believe it. The got caught. The guy was on a cigarette hallway, and he put 4 quarters in. It doesn't work. I knew the 8 was Hatsi or something like that. Hey, you probably remember because you worked in Japan. Is that Hatsi or something like that? So I looked at him, and I said,
"That's good. That's good." Now let me get to this.
8 quarters in it.
I don't know if you can see this or not, but this, I think, is a great question, because I learned something very recently that I did not know about you, about balloons. Now, Dennis Farrell, who I met at the Big Fresno Fair, and he's an incredible, wonderful balloon guy, would like to ask, what can Bev tell us about the history and balloon people he worked with?
It goes back to 46 or 7, like that. The Exxon refinery brought in a guy by the name of, he went under the name of Bozo. Must have been 50 Bozos across. They were all kinds. They were connected to Larry Harmon Bozo later. These were individual, but anyway, he was doing balloons, but the big ones, you know, the 350 for 315 for the legs, like Wally Bogue. Wally Bogue was one of those in the 40s. He went to France and saw some guy doing it. He started doing it, and 48 he worked the SAM convention. I got pictures of him in Chicago at a magic convention. Then he went on the Ed Sullivan Show, and then of course, and you know, he ended up at Disneyland as Ronald. He's the one that put the diamond, golden horseshoe, which became the diamond horseshoe here. I owe everything to Wally. Well, and I'd seen Wally work, and I went, God, this is great. Well, a few months later, I'm in Vancouver, BC, and a guy is a kit to blow him up, and he was using a 240s, which is that they call it pencil balloon back then. They're hard to blow up, and he had it all wrong. The nose wrong. He didn't have a tail, on and on and on. So I started working on it, and in December I returned to Houston. Went to my friend's house, Doug Carnegie, and with my buddy since we were 12 years old together. And I told him about the balloons, and we went downtown to the place, and they had these pencil balloons, and we brought a package of them, and they were awful to blow up. They popped continually. But I started working on the poodle dog, which is the one they use today. Everybody's got that. By the way, I copyrighted that thing in the early 60s. Of course, we on television in 59. I introduced in 59 on television. Then in 61, we had Rebo's Balloon Shop. It was done again. Then it appeared in a book, a clown balloon book, about 65, and it's copyrighted in there. Now, my God, they've got a 6-foot one and it was sold for like $55 million made out of chrome, stainless steel. And I'm saying, why didn't I protect the thing? Oh, Mattel came to me back in 63, 4, right in there. Oh, here it is. I'll show you. Can you get this? This is the thing I did for Mattel. I can see it. But, do it. Maybe do a better job. You see any of that?
There it is. Yeah, we got it. We saw it. Yeah.
Can you make that out? Anyway,
we did see that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, they were going to put out a package for it. By the way, the guy that did that did some writing on AllaKazam when we were at CBS. He was in the Navy then. Dick Zimmerman, and he went to work for Mattel. And the guy loved him, and the music you heard playing at the beginning of the Ragtime, he is the big authority on that. I don't know if you ever heard of U.B. Blake. U.B. Blake was one of the early guys that created, Ragtime. Dick Zimmerman got him on the Johnny Carson show, and it was beautiful. He was talking about music, and he looked at Carson. He says, "You don't know anything, do you?"
Carson
I can fell over laughing. I mean, just it was such a great interviewer. God, guys today they're trying to be. Can you top this? They're trying to be funnier than the guest. You don't do that on a talk show.
One of my great heroes is Johnny Carson.
You do a good job, by the way. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I got to tell you, one of my big heroes. I can remember seeing Eubie Blake on the Carson Show. I can remember that. Well, let's flash forward a little bit. I mean, we've talked about Rebo a little bit, and we've talked about and just before I forget, Bev, I just want to thank you, and I want to thank you on behalf of everybody here, but especially myself, because if it weren't for you, frankly, for you and Mark Wilson, I wouldn't be in the business that I was in for so long. And I think a lot of guys can say that, and a lot of guys can say that who went on to some really cool stuff. I went on as I got older, and in 1970, what was it? I think 71 was it? They opened a place called Walt Disney World. Am I correct? I think I am. And did you start out in 71 at Walt Disney World, Bev?
I got here in September before the park opened, and it was I couldn't believe it. The one that helped my wife's cousin, Lawrence was his name. He was a computer expert, still is. He did the water fountains for the Fair in 64, 65 New York. He also did the lighting for the original improvement on the Los Angeles airport, and Disney, and he did the computer work for what do you call it, the small world, and on and on and on, and controls for the monorail. So he calls the house one day and he says, Wally Bogus is going to Florida. Do you know Wally? I said, yeah, I know Wally. He says, call him because he wants somebody to take his place here at Disneyland. I called Wally and I said, Wally, I understand you're going to Florida. I'd like to talk to you about, taking your place, because, our television show was off the air at that time. This is 70? And so Wally said, I'm going to talk to you. So I get there and he calls the office and says, I got a guy that's going to go with me to Florida. I said, I'm not going to Florida with you. I'm going to stay here, home and everything, at Torrance. So he gives me a set of pistols. These are real 45 pistols, magnums, and the scabbards and all. And he said, well, go home and practice twirling them. And I'm in the backyard and I shoot these blanks off, and I'm realizing, my God, I'm going to have the police coming down on me. I stopped that. And the next day I show up, and he said, the bosses are going to come over to see you to do something after the third show. So the first show will break you in. Well, I'm getting ready to do that. I've got a man that for Wally then was Bert Henry, and he's a little taller than me. So we tucked the cuffs up. I had the only thing that was mine were the boots. So the call comes in from the bosses. They couldn't make the late shows. They were going to make I did that first show, no rehearsal, no nothing, not knowing the movement. Could be Betty and Fulton Burley, who were the old professionals, the singers, said, "Don't worry, we'll cover for you. Just do your act." And they carried me around the stage. They moved me around. And one of these bosses from Disneyland said, "Well, don't you think he's a little short?" I said, "I'm wearing a person who's 3 inches taller than me. I'm wearing his clothes." They said, "Okay, we want you." Well, I didn't want to go to Florida. They called my wife, talked to her. She's the one that said, "We got to get out of California. It's going nutsville," and it did. So we moved to. I'd already made 2 trips to Vietnam, and in the Far East, Philippines, Guam, Japan, all those things twice. And there's one more trip I'll make. So I did the last one. Flew back from Saigon, like on the last, and I built an illusion there where I could produce a kid out of it. But Wally and I already talked about putting a temporary hotel at the top, which we're planning to having a nightclub up there. Got open originally. It ran for about 3 months to prove that you could do it. So I pioneered that room there, show every other day. Wally would one day, I'd do it the next. No dressing rooms, no nothing. We had the Pearly Band dressed in clown suits. Oh, it was a good little show. Yeah, once again, there's no record of any of that. I mean, I don't know of any film taken, any pictures. It's sad. Then Pioneer Hall, I went out when they opened up the campground out there. Wally said, go out there and put a show together. I put a show together. One of the things I had was these big round balls that has a little horse head on it, and you could bounce on them. I put the kids to race across the thing, and I said, the mothers, I want all the mothers to come up. And Bob Yarney, who was the vice president of entertainment, said, you'll never get the women to do that. You couldn't believe it. Women got on there. They pushed each other over. They pulled the hair. They had that audience screaming. And so then after a few months of that, Bob Yarney comes to me and he says, that's real great out there, but it's a free show. You got to figure out some way to do this into a paying thing at night. So I said, well, we'll build a building. That became Pioneer Hall. And I got a note from Webb, cease whatever you're doing. They'd shoot all us out, Bob Allen and so on, the entertainment division, because we were going ahead with all our projects here. They did things. They put it in. We weren't not allowed to have it. Oh God! So finally, the call came in. You got 3 days to put a show together. Use the Horseshoe cast and all. Rewrite your show, put it in. We'll do 2 or 3. I forgot what it was now. Shows at the Horseshoe, and then move the last 2 shows over to the Pioneer Hall. That went for about 2 or 3 weeks. Then they said, take it out. We didn't have to do it anymore. We put a little hillbilly band in. That ran for about a month. And they came back to me and said, use the hillbilly band and Susan Hatfield and a couple rewrite another show. And had to put a thing with singing songs while they bring the apple pie in. Oh God, I hated that. And I know a lot of entertainers hate it.
I'm laughing. I am laughing really hard because I did a show called Fort Liberty in which we had to sing a whole song about bringing in the apple pie, written by a fellow named Ron Schneider, who you might have heard of.
Oh yeah, that's because of what's his name, Pete Blaustein.
That's absolutely correct.
Wow. For the what is it, Wild Bill's? There was a fun. I'd never the guy that booked it, and I don't want to mention his name anyway. He's probably dead. Englishman, and not one of his.
Oh God, the most irritating man in the universe. I don't mind saying it. I don't care. What's he gonna do? Sue me? I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But so the Horseshoe, the Diamond Horseshoe show.
I wouldn't work for him.
Which featured? We both did. Which featured some incredible Fulton Burley, Jerry Rose. Oh, God love Jerry Rose. That thing opened up.
Oh, God.
And, you know, there was a kid who came to Walt Disney World in the first couple of 3 years it was open. He was from a very, very, very nice family in Buffalo, New York, and Williamsville, New York. And he used to come to Walt Disney World once a year with his mom and his grandmother and his brother, and later on just with his brother. And, you know, we used to go and see this show over in the Diamond Horseshoe Saloon, which featured all those people I just mentioned, and that fellow right there that's sitting in front of me right now. And, you know, one day I said to my brother, as we were walking back out down Main Street, I said, you know, someday I would like to do that show. I would like to be in that show. And, you know, many, many years later, I was working at the For Liberty show that I just mentioned, and someone said, a guy named Chris Michelson, you might know him too. Chris Michaels, banjo guy, musician, funny man. Said they're having auditions for that Diamond Horseshoe show. I said, no kidding. So I went ahead and auditioned after having written the director a rather interesting little note about sending her cat toys for her cats, a girl named Pammy O'Bannon. And I'll be a son of a gun if I didn't get to do that show, Bev. There it is. That is me standing on that very same stage that you were standing on only so many years before. Wow, that was pretty awesome. And then I got to meet you. And I got to meet you because we were doing a show called Fortune Feast, the most horrible thing that ever opened on 192. It was a barn, and they brought you into this. Literally, folks, this was a couple thousand seat auditorium, and they bought with a big field in the middle where we did the show. It was a Robin Hood show. I don't even want to. Anyways, but they brought Bev in, and Bev, God love you, you went out there and did the egg bag for all those people. Do you remember that, Bev, by chance?
Yeah, I was lucky that the egg bag, everybody has the same lines and all. They're all the same. Started way, 100 years ago. But the Charlie Miller lived with me for a while. Yeah, I was doing a lecture and I said, Charlie Miller, when he lived with me, and Jay Marshall was in out of Chicago. Charlie Miller lived with everybody. Yes, he did. But Charlie knew the secrets of the Malini egg bag, he called it. I said it wasn't Malini's egg bag. It was, oh my God, I'm getting the name now. It was published in one of Golson's books on the egg bag of that day, how it worked. And that's the one that I have. And I produce a glass of water after producing all the eggs, which kills a lot of magicians. They don't know. I've got 4 different ways I can load that bag. I can be in the middle of a room. I could almost be nude and do it.
So I know the Tarbell egg bag, not the Tarbell. I know the Malini egg bag, and I know the
Tarbell. That's the one I started.
The Mardo, Signor Mardo, and I think that's about it. That's all I know. Wow, that's awesome. I've got to tell you, Bev, as people might have known. I love this. There's a comment coming up that I absolutely love. As people might have known, I'm a fan, and I have been for years and years and years. And then getting to know you as a friend has been an incredible time, and as well as getting to know your incredibly lovely wife, Eloise, who is the great. If y'all didn't know it, folks, Eloise Bergeron is the single greatest friend of magic there ever was. Okay, she loves magic. She loves watching magic. you go on Facebook, and Eloise will tell you, and she'll make damn sure you know when Penn and Teller are going to be on, or when World's Greatest Magic is going to be on, which I have to appreciate, because I tend to forget. But some
it was supposed to be on tonight.
Yes, it was. And thank God it wasn't. We would be in competition with that. But I got to tell you, there's a fellow named Bev Bergeron, who I'm guessing is a relative of yours, yes?
Yeah, Bo's my son.
I know he is. And he has been saying, he said things like, he invented the one balloon animal. We know that, which I did not know until very recently, surprisingly enough. And then he's saying he called that the A material. I don't think you've got any B material, Bev. I really don't. You could crack me up with a joke that I've heard 1,000 times and have actually. So you've got that going for you, buddy. I'll tell you. And I know there are so many people out there who absolutely think you're the great. Let me just see if there's any more questions here real quick. Let me see here. I know that actually there was one back here a little while ago. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, there it is. How many years? Oh, Bill Rosenthal. If you know Bill Rosenthal. I know you do. How many years did you work for Harry Blackstone?
Oh, very well. I worked when I left Disney. I got a call from Harry, and I'd known Harry since '57 when I graduated from the University of Texas. He came in. That really upset me because I was leaving and he was coming in. We had lunch together. He didn't know too much about his father. I knew more about his father than he did that time. Sort of sad. It was his fault. It's his father's fault. And but in '66, when I left Disney, he said, "Left Disney, I understand." He said, "We're working for me now." So he said, "We're going to open 1 month at the Tropicana in Atlantic City doing a Christmas show." So he said, "Start thinking some ideas." And we got several things going, and really had fun. I'd ride around in a limo, Tropicana, just to go 2 or 3 blocks. I'd walk in the morning. I'd walk to the old pier, steel pier, from freezing too out there.
Wow!
At that time, and I did that to exercise.
Now,
and the Christmas show. I'm going to be going to Pennsylvania to Philadelphia to do a radio show. They need you to do MC the show, the children's show. Can you do it? I says, yeah. Oh, it was 3 blocks away, and he provided me a limo with a big entourage. That was a
Bev, we're running up against the clock here a little bit, but I do want to get to a couple of very important.
Okay.
One thing I want to say, there are 2 DVDs that Bev has available. Yeah, DVDs. You folks remember those, right? DVDs that Bev has available. One is the Diamond Horseshoe, and one is career stuff from Bev. Just general, wonderful, wonderful stuff. Yeah, there's one of them right there. The Magic of God, I drove over last week to pick those 2 DVDs up, and I had intended on using them, using clips from them on the show. Unfortunately, that didn't come true. But guys and gals, you want to see Bev with Harry Blackstone? You want to see Bev on stage at the Diamond Horseshoe? You want to get in touch with Bev. And you've got Bev, and I know there's look for his website. You can order from the website.
And BevBergeron.com.
BevBergeron.com, absolutely. You don't want to miss that. Now, Bev, Jimmy Ichiana, who Wow, I'm thrilled he's in here with us. Jimmy Ichiana, who was on Penn and Teller's Fool Us, who fooled the crap out of me, I'll tell you right now, and has fooled the crap out of me on any number of occasions. No small task. I love to be fooled. I adore being fooled. And when it comes time in lectures for them to tell me how things are done, I will actually stand up and leave the room because I don't want to know sometimes. But here is Jimmy's question. I want to know this answer as well. Can you share any Vernon stories, Di Vernon stories? He is remembering you sharing a funny one about Vernon trying to perform the cups and balls on the street. And go!
So, the first one was the guy that got me to go on the road. I was a 40 miler. This is 57. And I was pitching the magic sets for Mark Wilson at Foley Brothers in Houston, downtown Houston, breaking all the records in the store. And we had the biggest store outside of Macy's out of New York. And they had a silhouette cutter there. He and I started doing shows together. He says, I used to have a magician. He says, back in 39, he said, the World's Fair. He says his name was Di Vernon. He says, I don't know if you ever heard of him. I says, oh God, yeah. He says, well, he's not as good as you. And I'm going, oh no, oh God. Because this is a non-magician talking. Vernon, he created so much stuff and all. He was a very kind man. When the castle opened, and I was the first member of the castle, he gave me number 10 because they had to give the board of governors numbers and art maker and stuff like that they wanted. So I got number 10. I was first, not the house magician with Jay Osey, and I took Jay's place when he had outside shows doing close-up. There was no close-up room in those days, just it was a table, and that was it. And the bar was only about 10 feet long, if that long. No, maybe more like 6 feet. And so it was just no restaurant upstairs. J.O.C. was sleeping upstairs, and he got a letter from Vernon. Said, what's going on the West Coast? O.C. says, come on and see for yourself. He comes out, he's sleeping on the floor. And at nighttime, we'd play cards, usually hearts. I don't like hearts because people can gang up on you with the wild card there, whatever it was. But I'm sitting there one year. This is after I got married, and my Carmel, who's next to me, was being born. And I said, gee, I gotta cut out. I gotta go to the hospital. It was about 3 a.m. And Vernon says, where are you going? I said, to the hospital. My wife is having a baby. And he goes, you dirty blah, 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 blah. And so. Your wife is having a baby and you're sitting here playing cards with us. I said, Vernon, don't preach to me about kids. You're the one who ran away from your family and left your wife and kid. That's the way it was with him. And we became, very good friends. And I brought him into Florida at the first convention I ran here for the Florida convention. We did a show at the Rollins College in that nice little auditorium. Only held 345 seats, but like 50 more, and they let us do it. He did a good job there, real good job. Yeah, I remember. I owe this to so many of these people. So many of them helped me. God, I can't stop counting them. Answer the question.
Now I will, Bev. I've got to stop you because we're literally we're at the end. We're at the end of our hour, and it's gone by so quickly. This has been truly for me a joyous evening. I have so much enjoyed just seeing you. Fills me with a lot of energy. It truly does, because I don't I realize, we don't get to have our Magic Club meetings. We don't get to do all the things we get to normally do once a month. Seeing you and Eloise was one of the high points of my month. I don't have much in my life, but I truly want to thank you for being here with us tonight. I want to thank you for everything you have given the magic community, the entertainment community in general. I personally have learned so much from watching you, literally from watching you, learned about timing, learned about, so much. I can't even go down the list. Between you and guys like Carl Norman and Mark Wilson and all of who I consider the greats, and you're way up there on my list, buddy, and I'm sure you are on everybody else's list as well. I can't wait for the day that we get to see you again at the meetings. I truly can't. My love, and I know the love of everybody in this room right now.
I hope so.
Everybody here, everybody in this room goes out to you and Eloise. I know it does. I want to thank your daughter, Carmel, for getting us connected tonight.
Oh, God, yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything you'd like to say as a parting word, Bev?
No, just thankful for all the, as Lynn said, we it's what on our shoulders. We owe so many to those in the past that opened the doors for us.
So I've got to tell you real quick, Bev, Steve Mills just said, and this would not be the first time this was said, Steve Mills said, when will the interview part 2 be? Because God knows we haven't even scratched the surface of Bev Bergeron. And if I may ask her, I'm putting you on the spot, I know I am, but could we have you back again in the future? Would that be a possibility?
Yeah, I'm happy anytime. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I truly consider, I have to tell you.
That doesn't bother me.
I truly consider it an honor. You are an awesome guy. Truly one of my heroes. And I thank you, my friend. I truly thank you. And I know everybody in this audience tonight thanks you for everything you've done. And I know a lot of folks are going to come in and watch this later on and enjoy it. And boy, am I glad I got to give it to them first. Okay? I know there's more, and I want to dig in to see what else we can find out about you. Ladies and gentlemen, Bev Bergeron right there, and I am sure everybody's clapping right along with me. Bev, we love you. We love Eloise. Please take care of yourself, okay? We look forward to seeing you in person real soon. Folks, that was Bev Bergeron. I'm a little choked up because truly I just got to interview and talk with one of my heroes. How awesome is that? I'm going to tell you, it's pretty freaking awesome. Come back, see us again next week. We're going to do something fun. Next week, what we're going to do is because it's Halloween season, and we're kind of kicking it off with a little bit of magic. We didn't do any magic, but that's okay, because that was magic right there. The one and only Bev Bergeron is magic. But next week, we're going to talk about ghosts and such from Titanic, the experience here in Orlando. Not that thing they have now. No, we're talking about Titanic, the experience back in the day when we did the ghost tours with the one and only Jack Ledoux. And Jack will be with us, and we'll probably bring some other folks in as well. And folks, I got to tell you, I'm excited about that. If you were there, if you saw a ghost, if you talked to a ghost, if you saw one, if you have a ghost story about Titanic, I want to talk to you. Okay? So come on down. Or if you have a ghost story in general. Ladies and gentlemen, as I always say, remember, tomorrow, 11:30 to 1 p.m. at Plaza Live, Feed the Need. Remember those folks. We've got a lot of performers out there who are not able to do their stuff right now. And a lot of people out at the theme parks who are not able to do their stuff right now, please, if you can, send a donation if you can. It costs me $10 a month, $10 a week to do this show, give or take. I don't really care about that. What I care about is getting some money over to them so we can keep that going to feed that need. Folks, I love you. I love every last one of you. If you're in this business, you are my friend, plain and simple. This business has given me so much. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, when you're out there, look for the helpers. Oh, they're out there. When you find them, join them. You can find them at 11:30 to 1 o'clock tomorrow. Plaza Live, Orlando, Florida, and all over this great country that we have. God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.